Good evening. Our last speaker did a lot of my work for me, so I'm going to be quick. I didn't think I'd have a lot to say to you tonight because there's been very little, I thought there'd be very little activity legal-wise on the case, because when I last spoke last year, the Supreme Court had rejected the Five's appeal, wouldn't even hear it, didn't even allow them to speak at the Supreme Court, and so I assumed that was the end of the legal process and we'd be concentrating purely on the political campaign. In fact, there have been some developments, two really, that I want to report to you. The first one is that the sentences of 3 of the 5 have been reduced by the courts on appeal. Fernando González, for a start, his was reduced by a year from 19 to 18 years. Antonio Guerrero, his was reduced from a life sentence to 21 years. And Ramón Labañino, his was reduced from life sentence to 30 years. Now, big deal, you will say. It's, still a long time to spend in prison. But in fact, the important thing is that in America, a life sentence means life. So anyone that's given a life sentence dies in prison. They do not get out. So at least 2, 3, and now 4 of the 5 have some hope at some point of getting out of prison, even if they have to serve their whole sentences. But of course we don't want that. We want to keep the campaign going so they don't have to serve their whole sentences and we achieve their freedom. The other thing that's going on is that you must never underestimate the ingenuity of American lawyers to find another angle to fight a case on. What the lawyers have done in this case is produced a habeas corpus petition to the courts in America by saying that they've found out that some of the journalists that were writing stories about the 5 around about the time of their trial in 2001 were in fact in the pay of the United States government. Now that's a very serious issue because under the American Constitution the press has a lot of freedom, but the corollary of that freedom is that it is a genuinely free press. And you may recall that in the appeal court decision in 2005 that one of the factors that played on the appeal court's mind when they overturned the initial decision was the fact that the press had so much to say about the trial in the run-up to it. And remember, in Britain, where there were restrictions on the press when it comes to reporting the trial, there are no such restrictions in the United States. And so the American lawyers in favour of the 5 have now lodged a further petition with the courts to say that the press coverage was biased because it was based upon journalists who were being paid by the American government, and that there should therefore be a retrial on the basis of that. So that's going to start kicking off in the American court soon. It's going to the original court and the original trial judge. Whatever happens, there'll be an appeal, so there will be more legal proceedings to report on. So, the European network of lawyers, the British network of lawyers, all send you their greetings. We're very much aware that whatever the legal proceedings are, it's the political campaign that matters, and the fact that you're here supporting that political campaign, that you are the political campaign, is what matters the most. So, 2 things. 1, let's get visas for the wives that can't get to see their loved ones in the United States prisons. And most of all, freedom for the 5.